Hey nerds, so are you ready for this banner? Because, wow, there's a lot to go through. I'm going to go and give you my overall thoughts on a lot of this. The reason I'm doing this is because, well, we may not be able to get the stats. Our data miners are, still going to be doing their jobs tomorrow, but the thing is, of course, with that, we also have to mention that Zanuck, who usually does a lot of the stats for the units, may not be available right now. He has a few emergencies in real life, and if you want to, go send him some love. He does a lot of great work, and so do a lot of the data miners, but let's get into the banner, since we can, and I'm just going to give you my initial thoughts on a lot of it, outside of the reactions that I gave during the actual trailer. So, let's just talk about this as best as we possibly can. So we're going to go through every unit, and I'm just going to give you my initial impression. Now, the thing about this is that Ares here is going to be incredibly strong in a few ways. Dark Mistletoe means that he can essentially run a lot of really powerful skills. And every time he triggers them after battle, he's going to have an additional cooldown of 2 applied to that special, meaning that every single turn, in some ways, he will be able to activate it. Especially if it's certain certain units, certain skills like, say, Glimmer, Moonbow, Draconic Aura should be knocked down to 2 with his skill setup, and that means that he's going to be able to trigger that every time, which is a terrifying prospect. And then, of course, you add in things like Brazen Attack and Defense, which Brazens are an incredibly powerful skill. But after looking over everything, I mean, Ares is cool. I definitely think he's going to be great. He's going to be amazing, just like his father, of course. But we do need to talk about the two characters that I'm most fascinated with right now. That, of course, is Lean and Ishtar, because they're going to be the most valuable units that I think out of this banner. Originally I thought Lean was going to be but then I realized a lot more is going to be included in this. Granted, that doesn't mean that Lean can't be, demoted. In fact, I expect Lean to actually be the most likely to be demoted if that ever happens. So, buckle in, boyos. Let's just talk about this a bit more, okay? So, the one thing that I'm worried about when it comes to this is her sword. Safeguard is an incredibly powerful weapon, and since, of course, it's an invisible stat increment, that means that it can be stacked with certain other skills, like, for instance, Steady Breath. Meaning that certain other units can really benefit from having Safeguard. So I'm a little worried about this in a lot of ways when it comes down to what she can potentially do, not only as a dancer, which is an extremely powerful skill, but also as a unit that can be inherited. Brazens are powerful, Ares has that, but as a unit that can be inherited, Safeguard can be inherited, because again, guys, the best way to just tell if it can be inherited is to always look for the plus. If it has a plus, that means it will be inheritable later on, or at least, and it should be able to be refined as well, so that's even more to add to that. Which means that, Lean is going to have a lot going on, and I honestly expect to see her sword on a lot of other units. It's just something that is simple to kind of tell. Granted, that doesn't necessarily mean she will be bulky in her own way, but it will add a lot more to that. Not only that, but she has skills that a lot of other people will probably want. Sword Valor is definitely very nice. Pre-built into a dancer is even better. It means that you're going to have a lot more usage out of a dancer like this when leveling up sword units, of course. But outside of that, well, Lean is a... it's just, I'm worried. I'm going to be focusing and seeing how well Safeguard transitions into other levels, like other units that are especially bulky, can run things like Steady Breath, and, benefit from things like Safeguard, because stacking those two elements, plus something like, say, close defense on a seal form, maybe fortress defense, it's going to be a fascinating look into what's going to happen to a lot of characters, especially sword units, in the next, little while, because that alone could be a lot. Now, hell, you could probably run, I would like to see Steady Breath on Lean, of all things, because that's going to be a fascinating build. It's going to be, quite interesting to watch. But outside of that, there's a lot more to look at, there's a lot more to see, but the obvious one that we're going to be talking about next is Ishtar, because of her skill set here. Now, let me just say this. Mjolnir is a really great weapon. And even if, say, Ishtar's speed stat is not that great, she's going to be able to stack a lot of elements. Not just, the obvious ones. She has, at least when it comes to initiating, she's going to be a godsend. Her speed might not be that great when it comes to stats, but the fact that she's going to gain plus 10 whenever she initiates means that she's going to gain a lot of benefits. Namely, she should be able to double. Even if her stats are below 30 when it comes to speed, somewhere maybe mid-20s, it's still going to bump her up to a pretty solid amount. And then, of course, that's not including other things like, say, actual hones, which are not included in the whole exchange when it comes to granting additional benefits, because, of course, Mjolnir and Swift Sparrow are invisible. You don't get them until you initiate. And then, of course, we have to talk about Odd Attack Wave as well. But all in all, she seems to have a really valuable skill set that will just make her all the more powerful. And that's not including all sorts of other things. But let's talk about Odd Attack Wave as well, since we can. So, Odd Attack Wave is a new sort of C skill that I have not seen, and I know a lot of you may have a familiarity with it, with certain things like, say, certain skills from... Well, Fates is the one that I can really think of when it comes to these kind of things, where every sort of odd turn, you might get a buff or something a little bit better, and that is essentially what this is. So, I'm wondering how we're going to be seeing this when it comes to a lot of the other C skills. We're probably going to be seeing some other odd wave skills, not just attack, but I'm expecting to see it because essentially it is a tactic skill without having to have a mixed team, but the only really restriction, of course, is that it's to odd turns, and, that plus 6 attack is going to be a lot. And that, of course, you include that with Swift Sparrow, she's going to have plus 10 attack as well when she actually initiates, so this is going to be a terrifying character. And that's not including all sorts of other things, like drive attacks, and, there's a lot to just dissect here and put together. It's kind of like Lilina. When Lilina got 4-Blaze, when we saw that her ability was going to be Death Blow, when you refined that, I'm pretty sure everyone really just kind of knew that everyone was going to run something like Swift Sparrow or Death Blow on that and just increase her attack even more. Now she's an absolute monster with those abilities, and it's going to be something that is really worth investing in. And I feel that Ishtar will most likely get that, even if her attack is subpar in some regards. It may be worth looking into. It's insane with a lot of this. I'm kind of disgusted in a good way with a lot of this. But all in all, this is going to be a pretty fascinating banner. The only problem that I have with this banner, of course, is that Lean and, of course, Ares are tied to the same color, which is a little bit of a detriment to those who want to aim for one or the other. Hopefully, Lean might get demoted. I don't see why she wouldn't, but we'll have to see as time goes on. Honestly, when it comes to this, I'm really going to be quite invested with this. I'm really going to hope and pray that this is going to be a great banner for a lot of you. And when we get the actual stats, we'll continue to talk about it. But all in all, just looking at this, I can already tell Ishtar is going to be probably pretty top tier. Same for Lean and maybe even Ares at this point. It's fitting that maybe, Ares might be able to outdo his father, of course. That makes some sense. And possibly his father may even get Dark Mistletoe as a actual, refining evolution skill. We'll have to see how that goes. But considering the fact that, Ephraim got both his legendary and non-legendary refines, well, I'm expecting that. But all in all, when it comes to this banner, if you just want strong units, I'm expecting some really great show for this. And that's not even including all the other things that may be hidden in the next, rendition. With, Julius coming out, we have a lot to look forward to. We have a lot of crazy things, just as an example as well, for those who are wondering, you're going to be able to get 18,000 feathers for free. 13,200 is going to be coming with Takumi, and then the 5,000 that's also going to be coming with the Twitter trivia contest, which is just going to be a day later than that. So all in all, if you need to upgrade anything, if you need to invest in anything, I'm pretty sure you probably at least have feathers for that. So I hope you're all excited for this update, including the banner, because there's a lot to be excited about. And the one thing that I can't wait to dissect, though, is the fact that for some reason Surtur got a ult before Marth. I'm kidding, we don't know anything about that. But still, nonetheless, guys, these banners scare me. These ones that have massive amounts of possibilities. Why is it always with these characters? Like, it seems like genealogy characters, when they come from their games, they always seem to have massive, really powerful skill sets. Sigurd, Deirdre, just to name a few, Arden, you know, Arvis, they all had certain abilities that were just so powerful. And we're seeing that again. It's gonna be fascinating to see how far we go with all of this. But, well, I'm looking forward to Ishtar. And I'm looking forward to everyone's pulls when it comes to this banner. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you all later. Good night.